Okay, we are now live. So, hello, Estelle. I am Ino from Ino's Realm. I am a VTuber streamer, and I am doing an interview series called Ino's Interviews. It's really great to have you onto the stream. I just completed Star Fox Adventures earlier this year, and it's just an honor to actually get to meet you and have you onto my stream for once. It's just great.
Me. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, so I just have a few questions for you here. I don't want to take too much of your time today, but I do want to focus on some of your other work. So, what do you do besides voice acting? Like, what are some of your passions?
Oh, so, okay. My everyday job is working for an accessory company called Venom, and we design and manufacture a whole host of products to use with core gaming. So, Xbox, PS5. We have some stuff for the Portal coming, MetaQuest, PS,
Ooh.
yeah, VR2, all of this stuff. Yeah, Switch. That's what I do in the day. And then in the evenings and at weekends, which is the stuff that kind of lights me up the most, is I work with people's subconscious minds. So I work with people's belief systems and I work with the subconscious. So
So
that's
is
my thing.
that kind of like a meditation sort of thing? Because I saw on your Twitter that you had posted some things about this meditation that you were doing. Is there like a Zen Buddhism background or something like that, or?
So belief coding is a brand new technique, and it's a combination of several different modalities, like EFT, NLP, CBT. There's a kinesiology in it. Anybody who sort of knows a little bit about sort of mental well-being and those sort of energetic practices will know what those are. And basically, I work with people's belief systems, and people's belief systems is what makes us show up the way we are and the way we do. So it's around negative experiences. And when I say negative experiences, it could be something really small as a child, like losing a toy or losing a parent in a shop, getting shouted at by a teacher. And then I also work with serious negative experiences like grief, like assaults, like all of those sort of things. So
So,
it's brand new. I love it. It changes people's lives. It's changed my life implicitly. The reason I'm here doing all of this is because I've used this technique on myself. Because I deserve to be here. I deserve
oh,
to be here with you.
100%.
You deserve to be here. Krystal deserves to come back. She
Oh,
deserves,
100%.
yeah, and this is what I'm here for. So I've used the techniques to help me stand in my power, and sort of do the things that I want to do. So and with that at the same time, I have this passion for meditation. Um, it's kind of what's massively helped me in the last 6 years. And with that, I love doing future self work. I love, as I said, working with the subconscious mind, which kind of tallies a little bit with what Crystal was about, all the
Being
telepathy and
a
all of that stuff.
telepath.
Yeah, it's all weird because it all seems to be falling into place. Everything's kind of going full circle, really. So, yeah, so that's kind of what I do. I'm very busy, but I love it in a nice way. It's a
And
good business.
see, you mentioning that, Estelle, is actually bringing up a question that I had on my list. Because on your Twitter, you mention a lot of things in support of mental health awareness. And honestly, I really admire that from, like, as a person and to you as a person, because one thing on my stream that I really advocate for is mental health awareness. And I was recently diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder. I
Okay.
was in natural disaster. I went through some other things in my childhood.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really advocate for is mental health awareness and making sure somebody has a space. So seeing
Yes.
you with such an iconic character voicing support for mental health awareness is just incredible. And this is more of a statement, but I'm just really happy to see you doing that work.
Thank you. And I think, to be honest, it would be, I didn't realize I have a small platform, but one that I'm very grateful for and one that I intend to grow organically and with good intentions. And that is one of the things that I wanted to um, to show through a lot of the posts and a lot of the things that I want to do. I know that Krystal has helped so many different individuals from childhood moving forward. And one thing with the work that I've been doing with this belief coding is that I realized in the last 2 years that every single one of us has become a product of our experiences. And those experiences, none of them are our fault. Yet we're burdened with the consequences and the traumas and the emotions, the negative emotions that have been trapped and caught in those moments. And now I understand that we're not our past experiences, and that's not who we are. And I understand that these things can be overcome.
That's
And
something that I've struggled with for years, was trying to figure out how to move past these things that happened in my past. Because we all have incidents that happen to us in our lives. It's just some are just harder to get over than others, I think.
so with what we do is we don't. Do you know what? We actively don't. Yes, there are those serious events in our life that we can pinpoint, the memories that keep coming back, repressed memories and all of that stuff. We know that we can work on those, so we can work backwards from that. But we also, there are certain events that we didn't realize quite had such a big impact on us. And that's kind of where I'm really good at unpacking things. I love talking to people and offering that hope, but also saying, look, we can work backwards, right? If you're triggered emotionally by something, we can work backwards. We can find out where that first initial event was that created that. And also in events, like you said, you've experienced some serious events that will now sort of affect you moving forward. We can reframe those events and we can help. We have the tools. I have the tools to be able to show people that actually, do you know what? You don't have to live with that. That there are techniques where we can remove that emotional charge around certain events, certain memories, certain things, certain triggers. I'm fascinated. I love it. I want to share it more in the gaming community. Predominantly because I know that it is a form of escapism, as is a lot of things, right? I get
Oh,
that
yeah.
hobby. But there's also a side where, in an ideal world, I want people to feel that they're welcome in the virtual world as well as outside. And I find that the virtual world sometimes is the only safe space for people. And I find that really sad. So I just want to make sure that, yeah, that my voice that ripples and that, both places can be amazing, by choice, right? And not being forced
Abs-
into.
Absolutely. Like, for example, me in this virtual world, I'm actually in a familiar location, for example. This is Cape Claw from Star Fox
Yeah.
Adventures. I think the camera is blocking the Krazoa head back there, but I figured I would do it here rather than Krazoa Palace because it'd be kind of awkward with Crystal just
I was
in
gonna say,
despair in the
yeah,
background.
really uncomfortable. Yeah, that would trigger me. Oh, save me. Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, Cape Claw was probably one of my favorite locations, but honestly, like hearing you talk about like the things that you do, it's honestly something I would personally be interested in because part of the reason why I do this is because I'm so insecure about my physical appearance. Being teased young when I was younger, saying my voice was nasally and all these other things. So, honestly, Estelle, like I know this is your interview, but I might look into that afterwards because it's something that I really want to get into.
Absolutely. It's if anybody's interested, my Instagram is Estelle Belief Coding Trainer. Come and have a look. And I know Facebook is like one of those weird platforms. I'm on that as well. We can always post a link later. And I am very raw and authentic. And everything that I do is based on my own experience and knowledge. And I won't preach about something unless I've experienced it. So
Yeah.
I walk the talk, all of this, and most of the videos that I post on my platforms are about my personal experiences on how I overcome certain things, small things, things that come up that we just don't even acknowledge on a daily basis. Whereas these days, yeah, do you know what? This has upset me. I'm feeling kind of alienated, right? Where does that come from? I'm going to go and find out, you know. And it's fascinating because you work backwards from why you're feeling a certain way. And most of the time, these experiences that have created the way you feel, you'd forgotten about. You didn't even remember. You didn't even realize. You know, one of the perfect examples I like to use is that everybody knows like the school nativity play, right? Everybody
Yeah.
knows what that looks like. Okay. So you've got so many children, and at every play, there's always one that cries. Yeah. There's always one that falls over. The other one fluffs his lines. The other one panics because the parent didn't turn up. And as all these children are there in that moment, 20 years, 25 years later, maybe a little bit less, you'll find the guy in the boardroom that can't talk or can't be seen. There's another guy, it's not safe for him to stand up because he'll fall over. All of these experiences is a perfect example of showing how people struggle with public speaking, people who struggle to be seen, people who can't do lives. All of this comes from somewhere. And my my mission is like, okay, that's nobody's fault. That's not your fault that you feel that way. And we can change that. And everybody deserves to, be seen, be heard, you know, um, all of those things. So that's me. But it's a slow journey. It's a slow process. So I'm also very aware that I don't want to go on, you know, all of my platforms and just go on about that. But I just want to kind of keep that balance where, yeah, Krystal is, this wonderful character that yeah, I helped create, and that I kind of helped bring to life, as well as all the amazing talent, obviously, that created her. But I also want to sort of carry on with that magic that she initially brought to people 20 odd years ago. Maybe
And I
I'm
think
just like
that's
a 45-year-old Krystal. I don't know. This is what maybe she'd be like now. Instead of fighting the fight physically, she's in here fighting the fight.
I think that's what she'd do after she retired, because she seems like the kind of individual who would do things like that. And just, it's like I said, it's just really admirable to see that you're using Krystal as a platform to connect with people and to spread that positive message. It's just amazing to hear, Estelle, and I'm really happy to see you doing that.
Good, thank you.
And it looks like we've got a chat message here. Let's see. Cranberry says Star Fox and SNES has been my favorite game since I was a young girl. I long imagined myself as part of the Star Fox team. The addition of Krystal to the series added a female character I could more closely relate to. A compassionate character that is willing to get out there and see her world, to make it her own. Dare I say, a bit of a role model? I'm now a grappling hook hiker that goes out to see my own world. In many ways, Krystal was a motivation to be the best woman I can be. Live an adventure.
Love that. See, that in itself is just, yeah, love it. I'm so glad I've just done it. So that's amazing. Love it. That's a positive impact on one individual, and that's great. Yeah, I'm really
And just
humbled.
Star Fox Adventures in general, like whenever my parents were gone on like a cruise or something, I would just boot up the game and play it. Like I'd start over, but there were times that I would get stuck on it. I got stuck in a place that most people wouldn't expect. It wasn't Krazoa Palace. It wasn't Dragon Rock. It was actually Lightfoot Village.
Oh,
There's that little test of strength thing you have to do where you have to mash the A button. I wasn't very dex I didn't have the
Dexter.
greatest
Yeah.
dexterity as a child, so I was like, do I push it? Do I hold it? So I was stuck on that for years. So I never got to see the end of the game until like 2010.
Oh, wow. Was it worth the wait?
It was worth the wait because the ending just blew me away. I really wish I could have fought General Scales though, because like it set him up to be like this big bad, but then we didn't get to fight him.
Yes, maybe that's another thing that we can bring manifest that we can bring into reality. I don't know.
Yeah,
we, we
because
can ask for it.
Because that actually reminds me of another question that I have here, because I have my list here. So, Dinosaur Planet, the original ROM file for that actually leaked about 2 years back. It's an unfinished ROM, so it's roughly about the transition period between when they were doing an N64 to a GameCube game, because Fox is the model that they're using. How
Yeah.
do you feel knowing that people get to see like the original version of Krystal before it became a Star Fox game.
Uh, I don't think I've got really much to say about that, in all fairness. I don't know. It's kind of standard, isn't it? Things always get leaked, something always, so I don't, do you know what? I'd be fascinated. I think I'd want to see it. Don't think I've yeah, I don't really know really.
Yeah, it's there is a dedicated modding team that's been working on it consistently for about 2 years now, and they found tons of stuff, early Star Fox Adventures assets, a lot of different things,
Where did they find
and
that?
so they took the ROM file and they started data mining it, and it's a bit higher than my pay grade, so I don't understand a lot of the technical jargon that they're doing, but they were able to restore a lot of the cutscenes and voice work too, so we get to see
Oh,
the
yeah.
original story of Dinosaur Planet.
I did a
And
lot more, I think, than was actually put in the game.
yeah, and to be honest, I still prefer Star Fox Adventures, and I'm not just saying that just because you're here. It's just, I was definitely more of a Star Fox person, and I feel like that helped sell it to me when I was younger because 64 was my favorite. Um,
Uh,
I'm getting a little off track, but so we have a question from Kit Williams. It is well known today that most voice acting work is done separately and edited together, but was that different for you in the 90s and the 2000s? Did you meet your co stars in person?
well, we all worked together, so we used to, yeah, we used to hang out, maybe at weekends and stuff. Steve Malpass, because at the time I was seeing a guy who was really good friends with him. So we were all work colleagues, so we saw each other. We never sort of worked together in terms of did the lines together. It was always very much an individual slot as and when things came up. But I think because it was so easy for me, for them to pick the phone up and say, "Come on, Estelle, we need you now. Come in." I would literally just put whatever it was I was doing down and just go in there and spend an hour or do whatever lines they needed me to do.
Okay. Um, and there's also another thing that I would like to mention that related to Star Fox Adventures. There is a mod called the Amethyst Edition, which lets you play as Krystal through the entire story. They actually modded Krystal in as fully playable with animations and everything, so you can actually
Love
play through
it.
the story as Krystal now.
Yeah, I think I've heard that. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I think when I played it when I was younger, I just really wish that I had more time with Krystal. Because I felt like the beginning of the game just wasn't enough. I really wanted to learn more. I want what was her planet like? Like why is she here? I wanted to learn more. And there's an in the introductory sequence when you're in Krazoa Palace. I know that the intention is that it was Andros, but that scene whenever Krystal gets pushed into like after she releases the spirit and gets pushed into the crystal, like was that supposed to be Andros or was that General Scales?
God, I don't. Do you know what? I wouldn't know what to say. I
Yeah,
want to say, I want to say Andros, but I might be wrong.
yeah, because that was something that I was always curious about as a kid. It's like who is it supposed to be? Because it feels because like the vision was red in the scene, so like my assumption was like, oh, it's a General Scales.
Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe it's just leave it to your own imagination, I suppose.
Yeah. So the next question I have here is from Aria. What's it like working on a new Star Fox project in Event Horizon?
Oh, do you know what this is something different though because Nephilim is so talented. He's just so talented, and it's completely different, right? Because obviously we're all doing it um, because we just want to be able to bring the game to people. He's been working on it for so long, and just in terms of like fan work, that's devotion. He's really just putting all of his free time in that. Um, and it's just been amazing because it looks incredible, and I'm humbled to sort of to have been asked to take part in it, and also to kind of give the fans what they want, really. you know um so I suppose it's been a long time coming, but it's good fun. It's good fun. I don't really have much to do with any of the other voice actors. I only work with Nephilim. and a couple, maybe a couple of the others. Is it Matthew Gafford that we had a call with a while back, who's also doing a bit for us, I think. So all in all, I suppose it's the potential that's the exciting bit, but it's obviously it's completely different. But yeah, I love the whole idea of it. It's amazing.
When I first saw it, and I saw like those, I think it was a video on their channel that said something along the lines, "Oh, Krystal is back in reprising her role." I immediately clicked it because it was incredible, and to see Jock Blaney from Star Fox 64 involved with the project is even better because it's like a homecoming for you. You get to work with some of the other people that were in the series before you joined in Adventures, and I just think that it's a love letter to the franchise, and I definitely applaud all of the work that's going on to it, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Oh, good. I'm pleased. I don't know how long it's going to take, but because he is on his own. I mean, this is the thing that just blows my mind. He's a one-man band. He's doing this on his own, which is just incredible. What a talent. If obviously the fans, when they get to play it, they'll enjoy it and that. But even if you just get some kind of recognition for just all of that effort and the skill, just crazy. That's one of the things I like about the internet. Just amazing.
And if there's anything that I personally can do to promote this project, do let me know because I do want a wider audience to see it because the animation quality is incredible. Like
Yes.
just your new like for example, your new model is Krystal. Fantastic. I love the new design. Like it fits so well and really if there's anything I can personally do to make that project out there, like do let me know because I want to make sure that your work and everyone involved gets seen.
Well, I think I think all we can do is just share, just share, and just all wholesome, right? And I truly believe that, with all pure intentions, and all organic, you know, um, it will spread. The ripple effect is there. Um, there's no reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of mods, you recently voiced Alex in a Half-Life 2 mod. Um, that must have been a gigantic undertaking because Alex has like hundreds of lines in Half-Life 2. Could you tell me a little bit about that and your experience working on that?
Oh, do you know what? That was just if somebody had told me how long it was going to take, how much of my time, I probably wouldn't have done it. I'm going to be honest. But obviously Gagnatar, who approached me, and you have to admire him for going out there and asking. And typically if you don't ask, you don't get. Um, and it was oddly it was at the beginning of my belief coding journey where I'd started my own personal healing, and decided that my life needs to take a different turn. And that to me was like, right, do you know what? I want to come back. Let's see, you know. And I suppose I brought it into my own reality and decided, all right, that's fine. So it was painstaking, I think it took over a year, and
Oh,
um
wow.
it was 2 3, let's say averaged 2 hours a night, um to get all of these lines done. They were painstakingly done, and meticulously recorded. If they didn't sound right, then we did them again. It was a labor of love, but I suppose for me it was like, we'll reap the rewards later on down the line, if that makes sense. Once we've created this, then we can, work becomes a bit easier, doesn't it? Once that
Yeah.
foundation's, Crystal's back, people are enjoying and buying into that game again, and acclimatizing to her being back. So that was kind of the first step. I'm glad I've done it, of course. I did give up a lot of time for that, but it's out there. People are enjoying it. Um, it's paved the way for Event Horizon, and it's got me back out there. So I've got to be grateful for that.
Yeah, I think that was actually the first thing that I saw, like that when you came back was that Half-Life 2 mod. And for what it's worth, Estelle, you did a fantastic job playing the role of Krystal Alex, because I'm a huge Half-Life 2 fan. It's my favorite game. And you
Oh,
did an
wow.
incredible job portraying Alex, because you fit so well in the universe that it just didn't seem like there was anything out of the ordinary. Um,
Love it. Great. That was the aim. That was exactly the aim. So I'm really pleased that that was achieved.
did you know about Half-Life 2 beforehand? Just an offhanded question.
Yes. Yes, yes, I did do it. I've been in the gaming industry, obviously since back in the early 2000s, and with the work that I currently do at the moment, I attach to a lot of the software. As I've said historically, I'm not a gamer, but I do love the gaming industry, and all of the old classic titles. Yes, yes, very much aware of it.
Okay. And another thing with like Rare, for example, Rare has always just made like incredible games. Like, they were just the king of collectathons back in the day. And do you still work with Rare in any like shape or form since the Microsoft buyout?
No, not at all. I left on good terms, lovely terms. Still, I'll still see Kevin Bayliss and David Wise. I was supposed to see them, funnily enough, on Thursday night, but unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the event. But um, in terms of work, no, I don't. Um, but I'm still very much, sort of in touch with some of the guys. Yeah,
So like friends and coworkers kind of thing.
yeah, something like that.
Okay, so the next question I have is by Kit Williams. So you're in a game called Grabbed by the Ghoulies where you play a love interest to Steve Malpass's character, similar to how you play Krystal in Star Fox with Fox. Was this an odd coincidence, or did one of you help the other onto the project from your experiences together on Star Fox?
No, this was just a coincidence. And again, all the pool of talent for voicing was generally kept within the company. And back then, unfortunately, there weren't as many women as there are today who work in the industry, and particularly at Rare. And I think I was just an easy one to use. So it's like, oh, that's it. Wheel Estelle out again. She'll do the character. So it was just purely by accident, or just yeah. It was There was nothing really into that. They just needed a female voice actor.
Okay, so they kind of consider you like in-house talent then? They didn't
Yes.
outsource anything?
No,
Okay.
it was originally. To be fair, I always tell this story for those of you that've not heard it. I When I applied for a job interview, I already knew the Stampers, but I'd sent my CV in, and back then I'd literally just completed a master's in European politics and languages, and then the year before I'd done a sort of a 4-year modern languages and translation degree. So I'd got the academia right under my belt. And I remember Carol just looking at my CV and just moving it up, and then she was like, "Ah, when you were 13, I see you did drama like this." And in the end, it was just it was just my drama school that I'd been to for about 3 years, from the age of about 10. That's kind of what secured. She was like, "Okay, well, we'll bring you in. You can do some of the language stuff, but we're going to get you in for the drama and the acting." And that was it, really.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm glad I went to uni for all of those years, um, and studied languages and politics, and and here I am.
And here you
But
are now.
and here I am. But yeah, so that was quite. I remember thinking, oh God, it was just my drama. But yeah, so that was one of the main reasons why I got called in.
Okay. And Cranberry in chat is asking, what was your funniest blooper while recording lines for Crystal? Because me being a voiceover person, it takes me at least 20 tries to get an intro down. So I'm curious, like, was there any like mess ups where you like said a swear
Oh,
word or something like that?
oh, there's always loads. In fact, I think Nephilim posts a few on Twitter. There is loads. I generally, what I do is sometimes we keep them and we post them for my high tier patrons, because on most occasions I generally get the work done, but sometimes if I'm tired, then stuff will tongue twist, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna try that one again. So there are some bloopers out there on the internet somewhere.
Okay. Um, Speaking of that, what audio setup do you use, if I may ask? Like, what kind of microphone do you have?
So I have a Rode Scarlett um,
Ooh.
microphone. I love her. She's amazing. The dog's chewed the top of the microphone cover, but I've just moved house and I'm trying, I don't know how I sound to you, but I'm trying to soundproof the room because I've had to put carpets and things down because my new recordings, my new lines sound echoey compared to where I was before. So now I'm having to yeah, it's a bit more complicated now getting these lines done. So but that's currently what I use.
Well, I think you sound great, to be honest with you. I'm actually using a headset microphone, so this
Oh,
is all
that's what
built
I'm doing.
in.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So I definitely understand that. But yeah, you sound great for what it's worth. But I have a few more questions for you here. I like to have more of a conversation with the person rather than like a super serious like BBC or CNN interview, because at the end of the day, we're all people. We all have our stories, and I want the person to be heard and seen, and we get to see the person behind the voice acting or the acting or what have you, because you're like somebody's role doesn't necessarily define every little bit of them. So I want to kind of make this a conversation.
Okay.
So, what was your reaction when you saw that Krystal was added as a trophy in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Do you know what? I don't think I was really. I think that the nicest part is, regardless, she's been brought attention, if that makes sense. Which, you always say there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So
Mhm.
I just think the fact that she's been brought back is that she is, yeah, maybe in the back of the minds, whatever, but she's sort of, she's still there, so to speak. So yeah, nice. It's like give the people what they want, really is my stance. If people want her, then, we should
I think it was
accommodate.
even better that they used her Adventures design, because I would have expected them to use the Star Fox Assault design, but they went with Adventures, and they even have the staff as one of her
Yeah.
abilities, which is incredible. Because to be honest, I had no idea that Nintendo was even able to do that because of like the whole legal dubiousness between Rare and Microsoft and so on. But
Oh, I don't know about any of that, but ultimately it's probably, I think it, well, I don't know about the legalities, but it was obviously the preferred part of her character, right? This is the bit that everyone preferred. So it kind of made sense to use that.
okay, I've just got a few more questions here. So in Star Fox Adventures, we have the Saurian language, like the
Yes.
native language of the planet. So can you tell me a little bit about the process of how that became a thing? Like, was it based on any language that we know of?
No, I think if I remember correctly, I think the boys did something. I think they wrote the alphabet and then they wrote numbers, I think it was, and it was literally just random, completely random. Um, yeah, and there was because of that, it was just so difficult because I think they used different numbers. There was a system to it, I think, but it wasn't anything major. Um, and it came about, oh, here you go, try this sort of thing. And I remember going in there and thinking, we were like, okay, well, let's just have a play around. Let's just see how you get on with this. And I think I'd tried a French spin on it, obviously. I wasn't sure about that. And then tried a bit of a Russian one. And I thought, oh, God, no, that sounds terrible, And there's all sorts of different spins on it to start off with. And I think, as you can hear, there's probably a slight French twang. And then thankfully, after a while, she then spoke back into English. But I do remember thinking, oh, gosh, this is going to be really interesting. It took us ages. We did have a lot of giggles. There's certain things that, didn't sound right. And also, a lot of the challenge was making sure the intonation was on the right word when stuff was happening. So, the major one was my staff when she cried that, and I had to make sure that it sounded like, oh, my staff in the language. But we got there in the end, and it was practice. But it took me a while to get into it at the time. So those sessions took slightly longer. than the other ones.
Yeah, because when I played the game, like I always was curious how the pronunciations were made because with a fictional language, I just imagine the difficulty of like getting certain syllables down or pronunciations. Like, I don't remember any specific words. I just remember there was a lot of Kia Krazoa
Yes.
spoken a lot. um,
Yes.
and not only that, something I didn't know until just studying for the interview, Estelle, is that I believe you also did the voice of Queen Earthwalker and the mother Thorntail.
I did. I did. It's far deeper. She was very deep and slow.
My son, Tricky.
That's it. Yes, I did. I completely forgot about that, but I did. Yeah, they got me in to do as many as I possibly could. And the same with John Silk. I think he did a fair few. The second that there was any kind of, oh, well, these are that they might be able to do some more. Let's get them in. And it was, it was amazing given the fact that a lot of these, were musicians, they were artists, and then suddenly, they kind of found that they were also actors as well. Steve Malpass, amazing artist, right? Who knew, sort of thing. So yeah.
And David Weiss is a fantastic composer. I love the soundtrack to Star Fox Adventures. Especially like Cape Claw, for example, the location that I'm in right now is one of my favorite tracks from the entire game. It just
Yeah,
I love the tribal-esque
he's so
sounds that.
talented, he's amazing, honestly. Even now, he's just like takes my breath away. He's so clever, so clever.
What is he doing nowadays? Like, is he still at Rare, or is he doing other things?
No, he is still, he's basically, he's outsourcing, so I think he just creates for whoever wants his work. And he seems really not a lot happier. Not that he wasn't happy before, but he seems really sort of in his element. That creative flow is still very much with him. I think on his Twitter, I don't know whether it was his or whether it was Kevin's, but he could play a multitude of musical instruments. It's just nuts. And I think at the weekend, they all went and he just um, ad-lib this saxophone, and yeah, he's just incredible. I think that's what he does. He just literally just outsources. People commission his work, and
Freelance.
yes, that's it. Outsourced, freelances. That's right, correct. He's amazing.
And speaking of saxophone, like, can we just admit that the saxophone was a bit cheesy on the scene
At
with
the end,
Krystal? Yeah.
it was perfect.
I loved it because it just definitely sold like how awkward Fox felt. And
Yes.
I just love how powerful Krystal is because like after the rescue, like when Andros is like going into space, like the first thing that Krystal does when she's pulled back up is grab the staff and start shooting at Andros. She doesn't even
Yes.
care that she's
No,
rescued. Like,
she's badass.
oh,
She's
she
like,
is a
I'm gonna
badass.
finish the job. Yeah.
It's like she's probably one of my favorite all time female protagonists, just because of that strength. And it's just incredible that she's made such an impact, and you're continuing to impact others with the character, and it's just very much appreciated. Do you think that if given the chance and Nintendo contacts you, you'd come back to reprise your role?
I think it would be sad not to. Um, but yeah, never say never. Never say never.
So I think that's all of the questions that I've got for you today, Estelle. But I do, with the little time that we have left, I do want to talk a little bit more about your current work, which is, of course, the belief coding and things of that nature. So, do you like? What is kind of your background with that? As far as like, have you done like Zen meditations and things like that, Reiki work, or anything of that nature?
So I am very spiritual. I have been spiritual for, well, for as long as I can remember, really. But I suppose we've been socially conditioned um, to kind of not connect with ourselves and not connect with, I don't want to say mind reading or all of that stuff, but um, clairvoyancy and things like that used to be sort of used as signs of people going mad or anything like that. We're actually, um, I believe that we're all connected, and we all have sort of the skill. to be able to do that. And I've always been sort of drawn to that. And it was only until my father passed away, um, that that was a huge trauma for me, and I've done a lot of work around it, and there's always work, isn't there, with the healing journey. There's always stuff there, but that was the beginning of my journey, and meditation sort of, I'd say, saved my life. Um, and I'm not trained in Reiki yet. I use it a lot, a lot, a lot. And it's something that I kind of, with time, will aim to do. But I kind of, this belief coding is sort of part of my path, and I kind of fell into it. Well, fell into it. No, it's not fall into it. It's kind of what I was looking for, but I fell into it in terms of, I went on a retreat, for 4 or 5 days in 3 years ago. I went cold water swimming. It was ice cold. It was like the water was like 6 degrees. I did loads of breath work. It was in the hills in, Yorkshire. I went on my own. I didn't know any of the women that were there. And the lady who was organizing it was the founder of belief coding, who herself had basically created this modality based on, a lot of her own healing journey, that she'd picked all these parts of these different modalities and realized that actually you can remove, something terrible, the emotional charge, and you can actually replace it with new beliefs that are amazing, right? Instead
Yeah.
of just removing. So, essentially, you're rewiring the neural pathways, and it's incredible because you can do it within sort of, well, I do it to myself pretty much every day now, and I do it at the end of the day. And the more you practice it, the more your subconscious knows that that's what you're doing. So it becomes a very easy practice, and it is like meditation. Meditation is a great thing, but this tool here is like, okay, this is where we're at, and we'll use it, and then we'll use all the tools. We'll work with the inner child, and then we'll create some new beliefs around that. And then the next day, you feel so much better. You're like, oh God, why was I worrying about this? And it really is also, it ties in a lot with manifestation, um, because manifestation is all about setting goals and showing up properly. And if you believe something and you want to create something, then you will put the actions into place to bring those things into reality. And you suddenly find that, you're manifesting a lot, quite easily and without realizing. And it's an inside job, yeah, and it's a continual journey, um, but it's one that is, it's an easy practice, if that makes sense, because you feel so much better with it, and because you understand. It's made me realize a lot about how who I am and how I feel, and how you connect with how you're feeling, because we're just not taught to sit there and go, okay, well, today, you know and I'll use it as an example, and I urge everyone to have a go at this. I mean, you can have a go at this now as well. It's like, you just put your
Okay.
hand on your heart, and you just take a deep breath, and you close your eyes, right, and you check in, and there are three feelings that you're feeling. And right now, I'm feeling excited, I'm very grateful, I'm tired. And those are the three things that I'm feeling from today. And as you're doing that, things can come up. And I'm excited. That's brilliant. Why am I excited? Okay, well, I'm excited because obviously I'm talking about this, and we're talking about, and I'm talking to you. If there are any negative ones that are coming through, then that something's happened. Okay, well, why do I feel this way? Right, well, let's work backwards. Why do I feel this? And we talk about anxiety, and we talk about all of these very big umbrellas around emotions. Now, they're all very big umbrellas, and underneath those umbrellas, there are small parts that contribute to those big feelings. So what is contributing to that big feeling? Is it nervousness? Is it fear? Is it frustration? Sadness? Is it helplessness? All of those things. And we're not generally taught to connect with how we feel, because once we connect, we start to understand, why we're feeling a certain way. And it's a practice. For me, if I had it my way, everybody would know about this, and everybody would have the ability to appease themselves, and use those tools to help themselves in certain situations. Um, So yeah, I'm sorry, I would have a segue. I don't know. You asked me a question, but I think I
Oh,
kind of
oh no, that
ran off.
was fantastic. I was actively listening the entire time. It's just I even did like I can't close my eyes on my model. I don't have that as a feature, but I actually did put my hand on my heart and close my eyes a bit. And that was incredible, Estelle. Like I think my entire chat was also joining in on that. So,
Wow, good.
really, thank you for that. So, one thing that I noticed about what we did just now kind of reminds me a little bit of my martial arts journey. So, something that my sensei has always taught me from a Zen Buddhist perspective is in order to conquer the blade, you have to conquer your mind first.
Yeah,
Because going into a battle with an ego is just going to get you killed. Like,
100%. I love the fact that you said that. I love that. Honestly, you couldn't have said ego is just, no, leave that. Not today, Satan.
and that's something that I still struggle to conquer myself because it's one of those things where it just kind of builds up over time. Like
Hmm.
you just keep it's like a trash can or dirty laundry. You keep pushing it down, but eventually it just comes right up and bursts out. That's kind of like me with my journey is that
Okay.
I tend to bury the dirty laundry rather than actually putting it in the dryer or something. Um, and that's something that
See,
I'm trying to do is to conquer my own mind so I can be a better
see,
person.
if you bury, for example, okay, so, and I'll say this to everybody, who here, okay, has had something happen to them, and it could be really small, right? Really small. Someone would say something or ruin what they've done or work, and you've actually stood there in front of that person or in that situation, and instead of just going, you or whatever it is, right? You've just gone, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. How many of us have sat there and swallowed it all, right?
Me,
Okay. We all do that, right? Now, by doing that, you're swallowing it. Where's it going?
deep down,
Right. And this is the thing. So, with time and when certain things keep compounding, that stuff keeps staying down there. And this is why a lot of the time when we talk about stress, stress manifests itself physically in the physical body. So, you find that you'll have like really bad neck ache, like your back will hurt, muscle strain. All of these things are related to stuff that we swallow and we keep down. We're not meant to. We're not meant to swallow all this stuff, which is why things like breath work, meditations, dynamic meditations are amazing. Breath work, I've had some of the most profound healing events with breath work. You go through all of the motions and letting stuff out how it's supposed to is absolutely, I mean, I urge people to sort of have a look at that, breath work sessions, sound baths also completely, but anything that offers a release, a sense of release, dynamic meditations and breathworks workshops are incredible because we don't want to swallow that because at some point and then there'll be incidences where people get triggered and then everybody's like, oh, that was a bit of an overreaction. Oh, that was a bit extreme. Well, actually, only 10% of a situation where someone overreacts, right, is to do with the actual situation. 90% of the event stems from somewhere before where the emotion was originally trapped, right? So that overreaction can be frustration, can be fear, can be anger, can be helplessness, but all of those emotions in that moment may seem really extreme to the outside world, yet to the individual, they are very, very real. And they've almost been catapulted back to that moment in time where they've been frozen, experiencing those feelings, which is why now it's important to understand other people's triggers, that it is a them trigger and not a you problem, if that makes sense. And then when it's you, I do it regularly. I'm like, oh God, okay, I've gone nuts. I'm really sorry. I know it's a me problem. And I acknowledge that it's a me problem. I'm like, look, I'm really upset with you. It's not your fault. I know it's not. I just feel the way it is. I'm just going to tell you that I've been triggered. I'm really sorry I've overacted. I feel terrible. I need to go and find out why and where this extreme emotion has come from. And that's kind of, But I could talk about this all day. So,
Oh,
it's
well, I just love hearing you talk about it because it's validating, I think, because somebody who was like me who was diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder, like going back and figuring out like what happened and like why I feel this way is something that I've been working through myself. And but I also have complex PTSD, so it's
okay.
a ton of different things. So
Okay.
without getting into too much detail, I was in a natural disaster, a tornado, and that was very
Wow.
traumatic for me.
Yes.
That and just extreme bullying in school. So
Okay.
I've definitely been in those positions where, like, I just, some days it's hard to get out of bed because I just think, well, okay, what's the point? Like,
Okay. And we can work, and I can 100% help you with all of this. I mean, the community that we've built, that there's several of us, and there's groups that people can join if they're interested. And all we do is we unpack stuff, right? Because if, for example, you woke up tomorrow morning thinking, actually, there is a point, how would you get up out of bed? How would you start showing up? How would you show up at work? How would you show up with your loved ones, right? And that is all based on a fundamental belief that has been created around that said event. And I can't, I project a little bit, but every single person has experienced different things in their life, right? And every single thing is different, and they have created their own set of beliefs. And I project with natural disaster, there could be things like, why me? Why am I safe? Why others not? Or, why me? Why did it happen to me? Or, and all of these things can be, developed by different individuals. Whatever's happened, that's been created. And then that stays within, at a cellular level, within the individual moving forward. So then, for example, if there is something to do with, I'm not worthy, as an example, if the individual believes at a core level that they're not worthy for various events and reasons, then they're going to show up in life like they're not worthy. But the thing with that is that that is just a belief.
it's not a
That is
fact.
right, right. That's all it is. And all we do then is go, right, that belief, we don't need that. This is where it's come from. And it was created in this moment, and purely by accident, or in the state of fate would have it, whatever, that belief has been created, whereas another one could have been created in that moment, but it wasn't. So we just remove that, and all we do is we keep the good bits and remove the crap that no longer serves people, and we move forward. And that is kind of, this is what we, and this is what we work around, and this is what I work with people, because there are fundamental core beliefs that we all have, right? I am not good enough, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I can't be seen, I'm not heard, I'm not important, all of these things. If we remove all of those things and create the complete opposite, then we start showing up like we deserve that job, like we deserve that relationship, like we deserve that home life, like we deserve to do this, And one of the big things that I always talk about, and this has literally just dawned on me in the last 6 months. For example, gratitude is a huge thing. So if people can exercise gratitude, okay, it's huge. Now, if you don't love yourself, okay, and I know it's all about, oh, love yourself, self-love, this is a big thing. And I've realized this, if you don't love yourself, when good things happen, right,
Yeah.
it's hard to be grateful, because you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, so I can't have this. Subconsciously, you will push all of the good things away because they're not aligned to how you feel about yourself. So you cannot exercise gratitude without self-love. And gratitude is the key to abundance,
See,
right?
the five things, or the when you started listing them on your hands, well, I mean, I guess I can't join that club because I don't have any fingers. But when you listed those things on your fingers just now, like the I'm not worthy, like nobody loves me, things like that. That's stuff that I hear in the back of my head every single day. Because one thing that I still struggle with is to accept compliments. Because whenever
Right.
somebody gives me a compliment, it's like, "Oh, your voice is great, Eno," or like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
so cool," or like, "You're fun to be around." It's like, because of the things that were told to me when I was younger in my developing
Right,
years, they,
right.
I think my therapist said it the best way, that the kids don't have to torture me anymore. I do that on my own every single day in my own mind.
So yeah, but the thing is with that, it's like, so, and I'll use this for an example, particularly women, the amount of times that people will say, oh, well, your dress is nice. Oh, this old thing. Oh, no. Oh, it's a charity shop thing. No one accepts the compliment. But why? And and the way I work with people is that the answer's always within you, within us, me, you. We have the answers to our own healing journey. So those voices in your head, we would say, okay, so why can't you accept that compliment? Why can't you accept the fact that someone said your voice is amazing?
Why can't I? Me thinking back, it's probably because, like, when I first started doing content creation, there were people who said, "Oh, your voice is nasally. Oh, you're just this nasal, annoying kid. Your voice sucks." But if I were to go earlier than that, when I was in the sixth grade, I hated how my voice sounded on video to the point that I just was terrified of public speaking. That's probably the earliest I can think back on it, was just people like teasing me or critiquing me
Right.
about my voice. And
Okay, so can you see how not taking a compliment around your voice is around this fear of judgment?
yeah, yeah,
See, you don't like your voice because people don't like it. But that stems from years and years and years ago, right? But that's just
yeah.
a belief that was created in one event where someone may well have said something. Oh, you've got a really annoying voice, off the cuff, that your subconscious captured. Yeah. And then maybe on occasions after that, someone might have said something again that's compounded that belief. Because that's all it is,
Reinforced
right?
it.
Right. But that's all it is. And I'll give you an example. My daughter, and this is why this magic is just amazing, and I do want to share it. And I don't, I'm conscious of, I don't want to bore people of timelines
No,
and your time as well.
no,
But
no,
my
you're
daughter,
fine. I love to hear these stories.
she came home from school. I think it was, I wasn't a trainer yet, and I was still working, or maybe I was. And she came home, and she's got braces. She'd only just got them, and she came home and she was crying. She was broken. She's only like, what, 14, 15. And she said, oh, this boy said to me, oh, you've got really ugly bad teeth. And she was really upset. So in that moment, okay, there's the parent that's like, oh, good, horrible child, this awful child, right? And then there's the other part of me that's like, okay, you cannot control the nasty children in this world, right? However, because they've got their own set of beliefs and why they're nasty, all right? But we're not here for them. We're here to make sure that we can only control what we do and what we think. Okay, we can't control the others. So with my daughter, I gave her a session, and we can work with those events, and we can go back and we work with the inner child that was being bullied in that instance, because that was what created that trauma in that moment. And it took me about an hour, and ever since then, and I've done posts on my Facebook, I've done posts on my Instagram, and my daughter sent me a message and she went, Mum, do you know what? I am really happy with the way I look. I'm happy with the way I am, and I love myself. And never did she say anything after that session around hating her teeth and her smile. In fact, her new belief was, I love my teeth and I have a lovely smile. And she has not since then. Whereas before, she would have kept going on, I want braces, I can't wait to have braces. She got her braces and they were still mean. But that's just another example of how, those things can affect you. But this is I can this is the bullet that will help people move forward and remove the stuff that really, who needs that comment? No one. Let's just get rid of it. So it teaches people how to be around other people. You don't have to walk on eggshells around people. That is a them problem, right? As long as we're okay with how we feel about things, or at least know how to unpack how we are around people, then it makes life so much easier.
And I just absolutely love that. It's honestly really inspiring and something that I still definitely need to learn. Because you mentioning walking on eggshells, that's something that I do. I tend to walk on eggshells around people because in the past I've lost some friends for things that I've said, so I tend
Right.
to be super uber duper careful around people nowadays. And even when we were corresponding via email, like there was that voice in the back of my head that's like, oh, am I being too annoying? Like, am I being too I'm trying to find the
Well,
term for it.
it's a fear of
Pushy.
judgment, right? Right.
Yeah,
But that's no, and people people deserve to be their authentic selves, okay? And that is without being rude. There are lines, right? Where be a good person, okay? But as long as you're yourself and walking around on eggshells around people, that is not a you problem. That is a them problem. And if they're triggered by what you've said, that is a them problem, right?
absolutely.
Ultimately,
See,
it's not you.
you mentioning that, if I may bore chat with a Zen Buddhism story, I'm paraphrasing completely because I don't remember the exact story, but there was a king that visited a Zen master during this great dinner. The king was known for being impatient, and he wanted to talk to this master to learn how to be more patient and be a better leader. So this king was served a cup of wine that had a fly in it. So he looks into this cup and he throws it at the teller, the waitress, or whatever, and it's like, get me some new wine because there's a fly in this one. I can't stand for this. I can't drink this. So the Zen master tells the king, it wasn't the fly that made you angry, but rather your reaction to it. So how you react to things is
Yes,
the problem. It's not the fly or the event or
yes,
what the person said. It's your reaction to it.
yes. And it is the law of attraction, right? So who here has had you start the day off, right, and you kick your toe against the bed or you break a glass or something like that. That in itself is just one event. But then because you feed into that cycle, then the rest of the day goes that way.
I've had
And
that happen.
right, because you feed into it. And the law of attraction says that it spirals out of control. And it's the same with the same ripple effect. I'll probably swear, shit goes wrong and that's it. And it spirals out of control and then it's a shit day because everything else unfolds, right? You can actively stop and consciously decide to turn things around. Now, there's a guy, Alan Watts, who is
I love
uh,
him.
oh God, he's amazing, isn't he? Oh my God, I love this
Yeah,
guy. And he basically, I think he said something around the lines of, was it him? Um, it is right, it is far more beneficial to remove negativity from your life, as in to as opposed to just being positive. Positive is great, right? But let's just not entertain negativity. And by that is that, yeah, life has its ups and downs, right? You choose to feed into that, or you decide to try and find a silver lining, or at least work with it to turn things around. And I always say that, during the day, and I've done it before. In fact, I thought today was going to go wrong, and I actually came home and I got upset, and I was like, oh God, today's just really like, I thought I was turning it around. I was turning it around, and to be fair, I actually did, right? But I consciously stopped. And if we do stop and connect with ourselves and say, okay, right, you have a word with yourself. You say, where is this going? I can either choose to let this spiral out of control and feed into it. Yeah. Oh, everything's going wrong. Oh, no, I'm not doing it. Give up. I don't want to do that. I'm not going here. I'm not going to do that.
I've
You're
been there.
feeding into that. Right. But we do it, right? Or you can go, take a deep breath. Okay. Okay. Right. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to make this a positive. And actually, I am going to do that thing. And I am going to start again. And I am going to, okay, play nice. And once you decide that, it starts coming back, if that makes sense. But we just need to check ourselves and just check in with what's going on. And we're not allowed to. Um, and yeah, I think these days as well, we always look to other people, how are we feeling? The doctors, the people in the white coats, people of authority, no, no one knows how we feel other than ourselves. We're the only ones that know that. we can, we're the only ones that will save ourselves. Oh, it's getting quite deep and profound now, isn't it?
No, like I said, I'm like I said, this is more of a conversation than an interview because I like to have conversations with the person, and I definitely see a lot of similarities in our paths because I come from a Zen Buddhist background, and one of the Japanese Ronin that I study, Miyamoto Musashi, considered to be one of the greatest swordsmen of Japanese history. In his book, one of his philosophies was there's nothing outside of yourself that can enable you to be smarter, richer, stronger, or better.
Mm.
Everything exists within you. You're the
Yes.
only thing holding yourself back.
Yeah. Was it the only way out is to go in?
Absolutely. And I've done a little bit of like inner child meditation myself. Um, but I think the only thing with me is that it only lasts for a little while. It doesn't do a permanent change. So I would go into this inner child meditation, like specifically I would be in this look, like the
Hmm.
my character,
Hmm.
um, and I would give my inner child a hug and say like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. These people were just not handling the situation well. And it lasts for a while where I feel positive, but then eventually, like any terrible thing, like that sadness, that PTSD, that anger and frustration just starts slowly creeping back up. So it's not gone per se, just suppressed.
Right. And the root cause of that is still there. I mean, this is why we say Reiki is amazing. Acupuncture is great because emotional trauma is actually stored in the body. And there isn't enough scientific evidence to be able to sort of go down this route. But we know that the fascia, which is that, I don't know what you know about the body, is just if you were to cut a human body in half, there is one sheet, and it's the fascia. And this is why things like acupuncture, cupping, Bowen, Reiki, all of this stuff, it moves the energy that is trapped within this sheet, this fascia. But the emotional trauma is still there because the emotions are there and they get triggered at certain events at certain different times. So it traumatizes, so that when you remove that emotional charge and remove that energy that's trapped in there, it comes back every time there's a trigger. And then, so I suppose all of that I work with a lot of meditations, but I do it along with the breath work as I'm doing the belief coding session, so that ultimately you remove the root cause of that particular event, and then you work with the inner child, and then you work with future self, and then you work with the breath work and all of the other stuff. So really you are using all the right techniques, definitely, but until you remove and your subconscious shows you, because again, who here has this reoccurring memory that keeps coming up, or a recurring dream? Yeah, all of those memories that are coming up, they're coming up for a reason. And it's the subconscious that's saying, actually, do you know what, waving a little flag, it's safe to work on this. We need to deal with this because this is coming up for a reason. Right, just as much as repressed memories, they don't come up for a reason, right? And we don't go digging for those.
Yeah.
we leave them there, right, until until they're ready to come up. But they like the perfect example, until they're ready to come up. So that stuff that comes up is there to be dealt with. But we have been, as I've said, so socially conditioned to not acknowledge those sort of things, to not acknowledge why we feel, to not tap into those things, that no wonder we feel like crap. That inner chaos that is caused by all of these different experiences. And our subconscious is supposed to keep us safe, but that was like 2,000-3,000 years ago, right? It's no longer needed for fight or flight, every day. Feeling nervous going for a job interview, since when has that been life threatening? Or public speaking, since when has that ever? But that's what the subconscious is trying to do. So essentially it really does cock block most people. But until we realize that those feelings are there, we kind of go along with our inner conflicts and inner chaos that make us feel uncomfortable and make us not want to get up out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, and an example for you, Estelle, is like in my case, for example, natural disaster. I was not directly in this storm, but my elementary school was destroyed, my middle schools were destroyed, my high school was destroyed. Pretty much all of my childhood locations were just completely wiped off the map in less than an hour. However, while I was safe and my family was safe, I have reoccurring nightmares about tornadoes. Like I'll be outside my apartment and then I'll just
Of course.
look off into the distance and I'll see it. Or I'll be on a highway, for example, and I see a tornado to my right and then I'm trying to avoid it. And then another one spawns to my left. It's like I can't get away from these. It's just followed me since 2011.
Right. Okay. So, me projecting with those sort of things, and I am projecting because obviously you'll have the answers, but your subconscious may see those sort of things as a means of you trying to hold on to what you've got, because ultimately in an hour, everything that you knew, other than your family and loved ones of your life, was gone. Right. So it and I'm projecting, and and we can get to the bottom of all of that. But every time you experience fear, which you may well have experienced back at school as a trigger, because ultimately fear was the main emotion you're experiencing during that natural disaster. And let's be honest, during a traumatic episode, more than one belief is created, right,
Oh,
in those
yeah.
events. So you might have that, well, fear is connected to having close loved ones or familiarity, right? All of this stuff, it's around that. So and then friendships can be associated with fear because of how you were feeling it. So there's all sorts of emotional threading that can happen, but all interlinked based on that experience. As I said, loss, fear, not having roots. It could be anything like that. So if you're feeling rather unsettled, then it might be because of that. But again, I project, but you will have all of those answers, that they will be there. And we can glean from that experience. And also, one thing I hasten to add is that there, with all of this, you don't actually re-traumatize, you don't experience that event again. What we do is we empower the inner child in those certain events to make them feel actually okay, if that makes sense. So when you think back of that memory, you'll be okay about it, as opposed to what you originally feel and what you still feel today. So we
More of an
simply,
acceptance.
okay, interesting in terms of that's the conscious acceptance. Subconsciously, there will be other elements linked, because you may find that you accept things as a means of people pleasing, if that makes sense. I don't know. That might be you just accept everything, right? I'll just accept that this is what's happened and this is what continues to happen, because it's safer to accept than it is to dive in and feel or whatever else, right? But again, I'm just projecting. It's
Oh,
just fascinating because there's just so many different facets to experiences.
and there's no worries at all with projecting. I just love hearing your point of view on a lot of these things because I think one of my closing thoughts that I will say is something that I tell myself in moments of stress or anxiety. The thing that my inner voice will tell me is that, well, it's easier to hate myself than to love myself. So I may as well just hate myself.
Wow. See, that's a belief, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. See, but that's just a belief. And that's like, well, okay, but why is it easier to hate yourself than love?
Well, to think on it, I think it's just like the anxiety. It's just like I understand, like from a conscious standpoint, like I do like love what I do. I love talking to people. I feel extremely happy to be having this conversation with you today. But thinking on it like from a subconscious standpoint, I think it's just because I got put down so many years and told like, hey, you're never going to amount to anything from school
So,
counselors and things like
so,
that.
so let's not talk about anyone. Sorry, my laptop's going nuts. I spilled coconut oil on it back in
No, you're
lockdown,
fine.
and it just keeps going crazy. Um, so the question is then, let's not refer to other people, and it's about you. Let's forget everyone else. Why? And I always ask the why. Why is it easier? Or why can't you love yourself?
Hmm. I actually don't have an answer to that.
Okay, so one part you do, because the answer's within. But one thing I will say, and if everybody wants to try this or whatever, you can put your hand on your heart and always connect, because hand on your heart always connects the endorphins, and it helps regulate the nervous system. And you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, and you just ask yourself, why is it easier to hate myself? Why? And if we ask ourselves, okay, and you don't have to share, but does something come up? Something's come up, right?
Yeah, something
Right.
came up.
Okay. So, and this is the thing, right? The answer is there, but that's just a belief, right? That
Yeah,
is all it is. But you're holding on to that.
it's
And
not a
that's
fact.
right. But that's the thing that's stopping you from actually going, do you know what? Yeah, and doing the work to self-love. So this is what I'm saying. So this is how we work with people. Everybody has the answers, right? And all I do is I give time and space, and the answers are there. And then once you start understanding that, actually, do you know what? That's a belief. And the reason why I'm not like that with myself is because I believe that, then we remove that.
It's like that Musashi quote that I mentioned earlier, like seek nothing
Yeah,
outside of yourself, all exists
right,
within. So I
right.
have all the answers I need. That's
Yes,
really profound, Estelle. Like, really,
yes.
thank you.
That's what I'm
The-
saying. That just came up just like 2 minutes. The answers are there, honestly. And every time we work with people, it's what you need to heal. And all we do is we just guide and give you the tools to help. And I just, when I work with people, I mean, obviously I coach, but I facilitate people as well. I spend 2.5 hours with them. And all I do is just hold their hand, and and they give themselves what they need. And I find what they need.
it's kind of like that. I believe it says believe behind you.
Yes, it does. Can you see
Yeah,
it?
it's beautiful because if we all believe that we can do something great, we can. We're the only thing
Right,
holding ourselves back.
right. 100%. That's all it is. And we're socially conditioned as well, that uh, society teaches us things that it's, for example, we've all heard the expressions like, oh, you can't have it all. Well, here's a question. Well, why can't you have it all? Because it's easy to believe that we can't. We've been socially conditioned to believe that we can't. So if we can believe we can't have it all, then surely we can believe that we can.
Yeah,
And for example, I mean, I'm always, all these, I don't watch a lot of TV at all. I really don't. And I've
same.
stopped. Yeah, I don't, but all these movies, all the movies about the entrepreneur mummies or the mummies at home, how many do we see them? They're all run ragged, aren't they? They like drink wine at weekends, and they're completely exhausted, and they can't cope, and the house is a mess and all of that. This is how we're portrayed as these middle-aged women. That's not what I'm like, but I've not always been that way, because this is how I am. This is how I want to be. And this is how I choose to be. And this is how I believe I can show up. So if we suddenly start, like you say, believing, actually, I can change those beliefs, or that, okay, admittedly, some are far more deep rooted and they need more work. But some, if you actually just realize that that's just a belief, just go for it. What's stopping you from going for that job? Asking that girl out, asking that boy out. What's stopping you from taking that holiday, booking that flight, to taking that opportunity? All it is just a belief that's stopping you. I.e., oh, what if they say no? What if you don't get the job? Oh, what if you do get the job? Oh, that's even scarier,
I've
right?
had that
It's
happen.
right. And it's that fear of success, fear of failure. So any kind of, that feeling like that comes up, like, oh, I don't know whether to do that or not, that's the trigger. And that's your subconscious telling you not to do it. And that's your green light to actually do it, or question why, where that fears come from. And the amount of people that, worry. what if I am successful? What if I do that? My partner will leave me, or, I won't find a partner if I don't do this, or I won't have that life, or I won't have time anymore, or I'll have too much time. All fears, all fears, but they're all based on silly beliefs, and we don't need those.
And it's you repeating those kind of, it's scary how accurate it is, because that's some of the things that I repeat in my own head sometimes, especially when
Really?
I'm all alone, because I think, and I think a little too much. And you
Okay.
mentioning like the TV and like the portrayal of middle-aged women, like as a male, like there's just this expectation of men to be like macho and
Yes.
angry and like
Yeah.
not allowed to show emotions. And especially like in the area that I live in, it's very difficult to portray these emotions without judgment or people saying, "Oh, you're weak," or like you're a beta male or things like that.
It's terrible. See, this is awful. This again, it's like stifling. Like you're being told to swallow your emotions. Like, and but that's society. And to be fair, I've been doing a lot of work. I've started to train young men in this modality because mental well-being is a big thing. And also in the UK, the suicide rate is scary, and it's not improving. And men need to be able to unpack stuff openly and be allowed to do that. And society has created this toxic environment where they need to be masculine and everything else, yet they're battered for it, because I didn't see the Barbie movie, but I heard about it. But anyway, and all of that is just, and then at the same time, they're not allowed to connect with their own emotions and actually, be sad or be happy, helpless, low, or whatever, and part of the healing journey for everybody, because life is all about the ups and downs, right? And it's about having the ups and accepting the downs and knowing what to do with them. And I find that this whole thing, men need to be allowed to sit with those emotions, feel them, and let them go, however that looks. Um, so yeah, it's huge. And yeah, society, the collective, has a lot to answer for with regards to that, which is why I don't generally feed into it. Yeah, social conditioning is not my thing.
It's for the most part why I tend to stay off of social media. I had Facebook for years, but I just couldn't handle all of this toxicity that was on it. Just recently, I of course like got Twitter, but I don't really use it all that much, and that was kind of my anxiety a little bit before we started. Was just like, um, I felt like I sounded a little too desperate. I think like I didn't mean to like sound like I was rushing or anything like that. So of course,
See,
there's
that's
that
a fear of judgment.
fear of
See,
judgment.
'cause
Yeah,
yeah, I don't care. I'm all right. I'm just sat here, and I was like just getting emails from you. Yeah.
yeah.
So but that's another thing. And yeah, don't. There are means of getting around that, because that's not who you are. If that makes sense. It's not who anybody is. I got rid of my fear of judgment from ages, and I certainly do not judge either. So, I'm yeah, I'm in that place.
And just seeing you so supportive of the furry community as well with Krystal. It's just I admire you even more, Estelle, just because of all the work that you're doing to better people's lives, whether it be through Krystal or the work that you're doing with changing beliefs. Like, I had no idea that this was something that you did, and honestly, I feel a lot better after having spoken with you. Um,
Oh, amazing. Good. I'm pleased.
so I am gonna look at some chat messages here. Does anyone in chat have any last questions for Estelle? In the meantime, I will read some of these chat messages.
Mhm.
So I think it's Becca Mation says, "I totally get you as a fellow anxiety sufferer. It's so easy to focus on the past, the horrid words that have been said, but it's important to remember that you aren't shaped by others. You're your own person, and you're amazing. You got this far, and you kicked it out of the ballpark. Only a good person will be able to self-reflect the way that you do."
Yeah, amazing. It's true. And also, and this will be quite insightful, and this is something that I've learnt. So, by no means, so the individuals who are doing that to other people, And the way I liken it is that we all carry backpacks, right? And in our backpacks, we carry all the crap that other people have thrown into our backpacks. Okay, so you're carrying the backpack stuff that those kids, when you were at school, threw into your backpack, right? That's not your stuff to carry, though, right? That's
Yeah,
theirs that they've thrown into your backpack. And at the same time, they're carrying crap in their backpack that's made them throw stuff into yours that someone else has thrown into theirs, i.e., siblings, parents, whatever it is, because we never really know other people's journeys. However, we know why they show up and how they show up. And for me, it's taught me a lot seeing how, and I'm not condoning anything, I'm not making excuses at all, but we're all individuals carrying these backpacks full of shit that other people have thrown in. And we see how all these individuals are showing up. And I can say, okay, well, they've thrown that in your backpack, right? But I can see that that's not right. However, they've clearly got stuff in their backpack that is around how they're showing up. And essentially, it's, we talk about generational cycles, epigenetics, all of that stuff. And it is really super common, and all we want to do is help people take that backpack off, ditch it, and you carry on walking off and living your life without that backpack.
because
But this is
like the old saying, hurt people hurt people.
right. And the thing is, there's a lot of hurt people because between the ages of 0 and 7, that's when people's core beliefs are created. And when we go back to why I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy. And let's be honest, you know, there are people out there who've had amazing childhoods. That's great. And as I said, even amazing childhoods, people struggle with friendship relationships at school, teachers, even the smallest of thing can have that effect and create a rock in that backpack. And then you've got the other children who generally, who are single parents or domestic abuse, alcoholism, all this stuff gets thrown into this backpack, and that child takes that and carries that backpack through their life and then bowls around with other people who are also wearing similar backpacks, right? So really, they're all bundles of energy triggering each other like mad. But what we have to realize is that this epigenetics can also come from parents, can be inherited, so it is complex, yet it's also very clear that none of the stuff that we're feeling is our fault, and none of it is for us to carry. And we just need to look at and understand that. Guilt, even that, you think, oh, it's mine to carry. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's not at all, because you were made to feel that way in a particular situation and environment. So we get rid of that guilt and we fill it with self-acceptance, self-love, patience, whatever it is. Yeah.
And there was a post that you made on your Twitter that I saw that was, you said something along the lines of, you are not your past. And that one stuck with me more than any of them did, because moving on from your past is certainly a very daunting task for some people, myself included. And honestly, today, Estelle, like, this conversation has really like lifted my spirits up quite a bit. And speaking of that, Dio Joestar in my chat has a question. Do you have any resources to dive more into the spiritual healing process?
Resources. Oh, do you know what? The Dolores Cannon is an amazing lady. Now it depends on where you are in your journey. I am great with connecting with people. I've read things like the Secret. That's an obvious one. Dolores Cannon is another great one, and her daughter has written a couple of books as well. I'm just wondering, have I got any? There's also Alan Watts. There's loads of people, there's loads of resources that you can kind of, depends on what you're called to. And I connect a lot with sort of clairvoyance and mediums and things like that, and everyone's journey is completely different. I came on board with my healing journey was sort of profoundly started with breath work. And breath work's an amazing thing because believe it or not, none of us breathe properly. And breath work is an incredible thing, because I don't know how many of you are aware of, we all breathe up here in our chest, which is the fight or flight mode, right? You're constantly in
Yeah.
flight. Up here, well, actually, you're meant to breathe down in your lower belly, where actually you take a deep breath in and then you expand your belly, but like fully expand it. And as you're doing that, you really exhale and you feel the air enter your belly. That is proper breathing. But we're socially conditioned again to breathe in your upper chest, which encourages anxiety. You know, it's the fight or flight. You're in that ready to run, that
The
high alert. Yeah, right. But whereas when you actually take your time, you take a deep belly breath and you feel that and you visualize that breath, give it a color, whatever it is, you feel it going deep into your belly. That's when the magic starts, you know. So spiritual journeys start in all sorts of different ways. You know, most common thing is to start with crystals. I kind of started 6 or 7 years ago. You know, get in tune, get drawn to crystals. I have mine everywhere. I have them all in my basket over there. And crystals will help you as well. They have different energies and they have different, you know, amethyst is really good for anxiety, citrines for sort of success. Excuse me. Rose quartz for love. There's loads of bog standard crystals that people can start diving into. Um, Reading is a good one, but also sort of, you know, following certain people on Instagram as well. There's a fair few that I follow. There's all sorts of things, and it depends on what you're aligned. But I firmly believe that people and things will align to you as they're meant to. Yeah, you know, we've all been around people that are like, oh, I don't like him, he's a bit weird, or she's a bit strange, you know, whatever. That's just energy, and you align to people that have the same energy as you. So be aware of it, and yeah, and you'll align with all of that. So dive in, dive in, and just start your own spiritual study, if that
I
makes sense.
actually went to a pagan festival not too long ago, and I bought an amethyst heart. I actually got
Wow,
a tarot reading there as well,
amazing.
which spoke about it's like I'm in control of my thoughts. Like that was the whole message of the reading. Which I myself
Wow.
kind of like a closet spiritualist. Like I don't. Well, I mean, my character is called a time spirit, but I don't really like talk about my own like beliefs and stuff like that
Mhm.
much. But I, like I said, I am a closet spiritualist, so like a lot of these concepts I'm very familiar with, and it's honestly admirable to see that you're advocating for it. But so I have an amethyst heart. So what does
Yeah.
amethyst do specifically?
So amethyst will basically its energetic properties will help you when you struggle with anxiety. So keep it close to you. So generally, women, we tend to keep them in our bras, keep it into your coat pocket or your trouser pocket. And what happens is generally what we've done historically, we'll have bracelets that you can keep on, and what happens is it'll absorb any of the negative energy or the extra energy around that for you, and you pop them outside when it's a full moon. Put them, you can uh, not bless, but you can set some water, moon water, and set an intention as you're doing it. And it recharges all of your crystals and it will help you around that anxiety that comes up. But there's all sorts of different things, you know, cacao as well, ceremonial cacao. That's like a beautiful hot chocolate that comes directly from South America, which is amazing, that we cook up, and there's a ceremony for that. That opens up your heart chakra, and it gives you, you know, it's yeah, it's lovely. It opens up your heart capillaries and chills you out. Yeah, there's loads of different things that, you know, that you can kind of lean into initially to be able to start your healing journey. Meditation is obviously a big one. I obviously I do my own, but I'll send you the ones that I've got if you
Yeah,
want them.
absolutely. Are you familiar with the way of tea? It is a Japanese tea ceremony, basically. So,
No,
tea, martial arts, at least in my path, is very spiritual. It's not just all about, oh, you've got this sword and you're going to go into battle. It's really a profound spiritual journey because, again, you have to conquer the mind first, but that a lot of that
yeah,
involves meditation. And a big misconception about the samurai, for example, is that people think that they were just bloodthirsty warlords, but in reality, it was recommended for them to be educated and to do things like calligraphy, the
Disciplined
way of
and yeah, yeah,
tea.
yeah. Love it.
So even something so simple as making tea can be a meditative experience because it can be something of a community effort. So you have a family that you're making tea for, but
Yeah.
it's just something such so simple as making tea can be a profound spiritual experience, and I think that's really awesome.
Yes. Totally. And it is it's almost like you said, the community experience. We're all connected. And I think that human interaction and that human connection is really vital. Um, yeah, for to nurture that. And those sort of ceremonies, yeah, yeah, just energetically as a practice, they're very wholesome and they're amazing.
So we've got some last questions here for you, Estelle. We've kind of went over our like 45-minute time, but I've been having a blast with this conversation, so no worries at all. So Becca Mation says, "Do you have a pendulum, Estelle? I have an amethyst one that sounds silly, but I love talking to it when I'm unsure, anxious about something."
Ah, I love it. So I don't, in fact, yes, I do have one. I don't know where it is, but so the pendulum really, so this is part of the kinesiology. And I'm just trying to think if I got anything here. I haven't. So if you get a pendulum and if you talk to it, that's amazing, but you're also connected to your subconscious. So for example, anyone with one of these, have you used one before,
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so basically, you set your yes on your no. Okay, and we do a lot of this in belief coding. And when you ask it a question, it will tell you your truth. All right. So, for example, you'll go yes, 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 and it will either spin round or it will go back and forth. All right. And then we'll say no, 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 no. It will then do whichever. So we need to know which our yes is and which our no is. I generally get people to say their name and then a fake one just to be sure that the yes and the yeses are the right thing and the nos are the same. And then you ask simple questions like, am I in alignment with my goals? Yeah. Or um, with belief coding, we ask, is there something I need to work on today around my anxiety? And it will say yes or no. 9 times out of 10, is there something to do with my anxiety? It will say yes because it's been triggered from somewhere. So pendulums are incredible, but what you're actually doing is you're talking to your subconscious mind, is what's happening. And that's another amazing thing because again, we're not taught to connect with ourselves and to connect with our very core. So any work like that, yeah, is yeah, yeah, good.
And I think for chat, like if you're interested in doing pendulum stuff yourself, pendulums can be created pretty much anything. It's
Yes.
more recommended to have a crystal, but you can use, like for example, I have a keychain that with a
Yeah.
rock at the end of it, and then I just tie my headphones to it, and then I just use that as a pendulum. So you don't have to like go to a store and get one specifically. You can do it with anything. So that's something that's really cool about that.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how we use a thing called, well, we use a thing. We use the human compass technique when we do belief coding, and it's actually it's your body that shows us your yes and your no, and it's fascinating. There's part of me that wondered whether I would do a workshop live to see how many people wanted to join, just to see. I don't know whether there'd be any interest in that. And it's just a very top level, very small belief coding session, just to get people to sort of experience what I do and what I can do and how I can help. But um, I don't know whether I could. I might have to do a poll. I don't know. Again, it's just trying to get as many people aware that this thing is out here and this technique is possible. But it might be something fun to do in the future.
If you do that, where can we find it at? Would it just be on your Twitter?
So I'm trying to figure out the mechanics of it. I did one. I did it live on Facebook, and then here's a question then. So if I wanted to do a masterclass, how would it best be? Could I? Because normally I can do it via a Zoom platform with a link, and I don't know. I mean, Zoom's pretty. I think most people can access it via a link, can't they? So I would probably do it that way. With a link that I might post, but I need to cap it because I want it to be kind of capped at, I don't know, 40.
Closed.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's closed at a set amount because I don't want there to be too many people. wishful thinking. I'd like to hope that people might join. So I think that's probably the way I would do it. Um, yeah, yeah, probably one of those. Yeah. So I
Yeah, like I think Zoom would be a really great idea because you have moderation tools, so you can like you can
Yes,
let people in and you can mute
yeah,
them, and there's a chat
correct.
option. So
Yes, absolutely. So I might just consider that. I think I'd need to find a couple of moderators just in case. Not that I'm preempting anything, because I think everybody that will join will be, mind blown, but also, very open and kind. So I'm not worried about that. But I'm just hopeful to kind of share this sort of thing with people.
and I'm honestly really happy you got to share it with my community and myself. Do you have any closing thoughts yourself before we end the interview?
I just want to say thank you very much for inviting me and for allowing me to talk for an hour and a half, however long it was. And yeah, if people want to reach out to me on Twitter, yeah, just for anything, I'm kind of, as I said, I'm an advocate for all of this stuff, and I'd like to continue, to sort of expand that. Um, and maybe I could create like a Discord channel around um, this sort of thing. I'm just trying to figure out um, how that might work, but maybe I can talk to you about that later. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if there was sort of a need for it. Just like a tiny subscription. And when I say a subscription, it's only so people are accountable for their healing journey, if that makes sense.
Right.
But they're being open. Um, yeah, I want people to kind of decide to invest the time in themselves and to and unpack stuff, but it depends on how open people are to that. That's all, but it's food for thought anyway, something I'm considering.
And I'd love to help you out in any way that I can. So if you do need anything related to like Discord and stuff, I'd be happy to help.
Thank you.
So my last thought is Discord, Twitter, or your email the best way to kind of stay in contact with you so we can talk further about stuff like this?
So you can just do it on Discord. Yeah, you
Okay.
you can get me on here. That's fine. Email works as well, but yeah, just Discord will be easier because it's like WhatsApp on my phone. I have my bunch of patrons are on there as well, so I respond pretty quickly to everybody.
Okay. Because I one thing that I would love to do is to share my adventures with you because just to kind of move this camera a little bit, like I said, I am in Cape Claw right now. Like
Love it.
this is all physically here. So what I'm seeing is I'm actually in the game world. What I see is your screen in front of me and then the world around me.
Oh,
So this is
wow.
all here.
Oh, wow. Don't fall off.
I've done that more than a few times getting ready for this. Then I'd have to walk all the way up. Well, at least I don't have to pay the bribe claw to get up here because that would have sucked.
Oh,
But really, thank you so much for joining me today, Estelle. Sorry for going over time a little bit. It was a blast
no.
talking to you, and
Thank you,
honestly,
everybody, for joining as well. I appreciate that.
I I look forward to talking with you more and sharing my adventures and my journey. So, I
Okay.
hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, Estelle. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining us on my
you
Twitch,
very much.
and
I'll
we'll
see you soon.
see you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, chat. So that was Estelle Ellis, the voice of Krystal from Star Fox Adventures. Thank you all for joining me in my realm today for this interview. This was honestly incredible. I absolutely had a blast talking to Estelle. I have much more respect for what she does, and it's just incredible to be able to talk to another person who's been through these experiences like myself and really gets it. Thank you all for joining me in my realm today. I am Ino. This is Ino's Interviews for the SplitScreeners and Ino's Realm, and I'll be seeing you next time.